I will say a few words about the refactoring the time spent in higher education, the time the students spend, in light of current digitalization as a long-term trend and the short-term effects of the corona pandemic, which sort of accentuated tendencies that were already there. And we may take as our point of departure the time spent in 1 week in one subject, for instance, 10 hours, or for the entire week, or for a whole semester, or a whole program, study program on the bachelor or master's level. And we start from dividing time that students spend on this in 3 parts. One is the classical study of textbook material, scientific papers, and so on and so forth. Maybe they organize themselves in study groups. Then we have a new type of learning materials, a new genre, which is the MOOC book, we could call it. It is inspired by MOOCs and flipped classroom, but it has a bookish character, but are not a traditional textbook. In Norwegian, we call this digitalt læreverk. And the third part is for real-time, synchronous interaction between students and their teachers and teacher assistants, either face-to-face or online in webinars, but often like placement, clinical placement in study health subjects, working in labs and workshops, going on field trips, etc. But this is not cut in stone. We can have the more traditional kind where reading textbooks is the dominant part of the time spent, with shorter periods for lecturing and for being together, solving assignments and so on and so forth. Or we might have more emphasis on the practicum part, not so much reading, but still new kind of support from these MOOC books or these interactive learning materials that can pose questions, that can give assignments, that can advise, and where you can also contact other people while you are out there in the hospital or the school or what the case might be. So returning to this online material, that should be available for use on PCs, on pads, on not so much mobile phone, that is like using a post-it piece of paper for serious study. That doesn't work so well. And we need quite a lot of them. Here we have like 4 times 7, 28, and maybe that is the number of titles that we might want for the full 5 years of both a bachelor and a master program. As indicated here, maybe 18 titles for the bachelor and 10 titles for the masters. And then we can sort of factorize it, and some are 15 ECTS, some are 7.5, some are short courses of 2.5. This is also mandated by combining combinatorics. You know, you can combine between studies or between institutions. That's a pragmatic issue. But overall, they should sort of end up with 300 ECTS, and that is quite a lot. So if you look into this, what's happening here? The teacher moves from lecturing from the lecture stand in the auditorium and sort of moves into the screen and become a recorded presence there, producing content, either live, as we've seen in the pandemic, but to a larger degree recorded as small lecturing videos of 3 to 5 minutes, like a bit like the one you're watching now, formally. And then that is combined with interactive learning objects that encode knowledge in a very exciting and important way. We will see that, because also in the future, that's where the AI, the artificial intelligence mechanism, will come into play to give good answers to various kind of errors or answers that students might give. Today, that is done by hand. It's a very interesting and very useful endeavor to provide students with this kind of pre-programmed interactivity. So people ask, how can we make more students more active? Well, you have to organize the knowledge work in an interactive way and in a, to some extent, programmed way. Now, returning to the 300 ECTS, that corresponds to 9,000 student hours because one study point is equal to 30 hours, maybe 25, but we take 30 here. And if we stick to that the division in 3, then we end up with 3,000 hours to work with the MOOC book, the digitale læreverk. And in our experience, 1 hour corresponds to like 5 web pages, instructional web pages. The video itself is not enough. Collections of videos or assignments becomes too flat. You need to write this in an engaging and varied way. That's a new kind of literary competence to handle this. And it combines both the ability to handle documents on the document level, at the collection level, but also document content, the new genre. Now, 15,000 web pages with 10,000 3 to 5 minute video lectures. And that sounds like a lot, but if we think about that would be 30,000 minutes. But that corresponds to 5 full hours of lecturing. And consider that over 5 years, 40 weeks a year for a total of 200 weeks. And we end up by 2.5 hours lecturing each week, which we can compare to the situation that has been common, namely that in one subject, students get maybe 2 times 45 minutes or 2 times 30 minutes lectures each day, or maybe several such units each day for the whole week or for 3 or 4 days. And that indicates that there's a huge shift, not only in student time, but also in teachers' time, whereby we put the lecturing online and let more time be spent on interactivity between teachers and students. They are leaders of learning rather than lecturers. So when we look back at this, this is the domain of the publishing units in the universities, primarily the university library, that handles all these enormous collections of documents and subordinate components of the document, while synchronous interactivity has more to do with the pedagogical part. And in both cases, the main agents, the heroes here, in addition to students, are in this case the teachers themselves, and also here. But this needs to be organized from the library. This can be supported by pedagogical centers and the like. So this is the basic shift that we look into, which has been sort of on the horizon for the future for many years. And now it has become the present. Thank you.